So today was Vanguard overdress start deck day, and it's been a pretty stressful day for me. I didn't get all that much sleep last night. I got barely any actually, and I got up really early so I could go to my card shop and pick up the start decks. But lo and behold, it turned out they were, if indeed, affected by the shipping delay. So, on a whim, kind of stupidly, I decided to take a pretty long trek out, an hour-long bus drive to a nearby town that also had a card shop. And so I went there, and it turns out they didn't either. And so I just hung around that area for a bit and then came back on another, hour drive back. And so I basically spent my day very exhausted and kind of sad, honestly, because I really wanted these overdress decks on release day. And yes, I'm gonna eventually get them. My local place is eventually going to have them arrive and sell them to me. But it really kind of showed me just how much this game matters to me. And obviously, it does, right? Like, I feel like all of us watching this can agree this game means a lot to us. But I feel like sometimes we take it for granted, and that very moment of, genuine, sadness over not being able to buy this product, it felt weird, right? Like, I was so looking forward to today playing with these decks, specifically playing with the Bastion deck. And obviously, it's a first world problem. Obviously, there are people out there who have bigger problems than me, and I have bigger problems in my life than being able to receive these decks. But feeling that genuine, emotion made me realize again, because I'd kind of forgotten, just how important this game is to me. And so, very tired, very annoyed. I've had a lot going on recently, and chasing these decks down all day and not actually being able to get them certainly didn't help. And so I've just been kind of sleep deprived, not in the best mood. I haven't really been functioning all that well. So this episode aired, and I don't even know what I'm gonna say. This is going to be the most rambly episode review I think I've ever made, because this episode oh boy, this episode, it's good. In fact, good's an understatement. I think this is in the running to become my all-time favorite episode of Cardfight Vanguard. It is that good. And I don't say that lightly. I'm not someone who just, says that for no reason. I'm not, the kind of person who just likes whatever the new thing is. I've had my ups and downs with this franchise. I felt like the reboot was very kind of shallow. I felt like the whole stakes and plot with AL4 and the Dahlia stuff, it never really resonated with me. I didn't really care. My favorite moments in Cardfight Vanguard have been the moments where characters have had these problems, these real-life, relatable problems in their lives. And Vanguard has been connected to that in some way. Obviously, the most basic example of this is Aichi having anxiety and not being able to talk to others. And so, by getting into Cardfight Vanguard, he is able and forced to communicate with each other, with people, and befriend people, and get out of his shell. And eventually, very slowly throughout that show, he becomes more and more confident and more accepted. And the card game helps him do that. And another episode I really, really love is the one with Tohya in Cardfight Vanguard G Next, because she's mourning over the death of a friend. And Vanguard is how she copes with that. And I very explicitly remember when watching that episode that was what Vanguard should be about. Vanguard should be about these characters using the card game or having the card game be there for them when they're struggling with real life issues. This franchise, to evolve, to become unique, to stand out and get with the times, it should grow up with its fan base. It should understand that its fan base of teenagers in 2011, or even kids, have grown up now. They've gotten older. And so to adapt and survive and to stand out from its various many competitors like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh!, which are still aimed at that same kid and teenage demographic, Vanguard should stand out by growing up and tackling these more adult issues. And oh my god, they did it. They did it, and they did it so much better than I thought they ever could. This episode was incredible. And I'm gonna have a difficult, time of explaining why. I'm very rambly and I'm very all over the place. Basically, the episode's good. If you watch that episode and you don't like it, then I'm convinced you don't have a soul, or you just have never played a card game before. Because this episode was incredible. And I want to talk about why. And it's mainly that issue of, like, tackling real world, actual relatable issues, actually making card fighters, people who play these games, feel represented and shown. And obviously, people who play card games being represented in anime, that's not the most important type of representation. Obviously, there are definitely more monumental and important examples of that out there. But to me, seeing them tackle issues that I am very familiar with felt weird. In these kinds of animes, even in Vanguard a lot of the time, they will kind of sweep the interesting character stuff to the side so that they can beat up some kind of, world-ending monster, In fact, the thing I was talking about with Tohya, they kind of do that. They kind of swipe the Tohya cool character arc to the side so they can deal with the Diff Riders and Gize. And, that's pretty good still, I guess. But, this episode... Okay, so what am I actually talking about? I should probably describe. I mean, if you haven't seen the episode, stop watching this video and go watch it. I really mean it. This episode is like a straight 10 out of 10. So, Tohya is a character who is a medical student, and he's working various different jobs, and he's doing it very, very well. He basically seems to be a jack of all trades. He was a gifted child as a kid. He was always getting really good grades, and so his parents encouraged him and pushed him to do further, and they really want him to become like a doctor, which is why he's attending medical school. And so he's doing all these jobs, and he's going to this school, and he's excelling. He's doing so well. All the people who he's working for really appreciate him and enjoy the work that he's doing for them. I assume he's getting paid well. He's got a friend in Iseki. And, he's having fun playing Vanguard. Everything seems great for him. Everything's going really, really well for Tohya. At least on the outside. That's what Yuyu thinks, at the very least, when he runs into him. And so Yuyu asks him, hey, look, here's my deck. Do you have any advice? And this moment was the moment I knew this was going to be a good episode. Not just a good episode, but a great episode. Because, first of all, this doesn't happen. This happened a couple of times in the original Vanguard, and I think in the Asia circuit. It happens a handful of times here and there, but this just never happens in card game anime. Or at the very least, not enough, anyway. Seeing characters just lay the cards out on a table like that and go, here's my deck, what do you think? This happens on a daily basis for people who actually play card games. I do this on a daily basis. I love laying the deck out like that, and trying to see what things I can improve, and showing it to other people. And it was just such a human moment. And I love it. And so, yeah, Tohya gives him advice and everything, and then he comes to Wonder Hill and challenges Danji to a car fight, to which Danji doesn't necessarily decline. He wants to do it. But Yuyu, who is, had a character arc now, he's been growing and evolving as the series has progressed, now has the confidence to say, no, Danji, you're not card fighting Tohya. I am. Now, Yuyu's doing this partially because he's worried about Danji's physical state after the silly comedy episode we had last week. But also, I feel because Yuyu does want to prove himself to Danji. He wants to win these games. And he wants to get more confidence. He knows that Tohya was a big rival for Danji. And so he's like, if I can beat Tohya, then great. But the thing is, Yuyu, he's a newcomer, he's a beginner, and so he's mainly looking at this from the point of view of a very naive player. He's looking at this from the point of view of, I'll have fun, I'll win, simple. Whereas Tohya is someone who has years of experience, and so he knows that there's more to it than that. The balance between having fun and doing well in a card game is a surprisingly tricky one. And that's when we get this flashback sequence with him, where as he's excelling in his grades at school, his grandmother decides to reward him for his birthday by giving him a Cardfight Vanguard deck, and encourages him because she says that if you have a hobby, then that's important too. Life isn't all just about jobs and studying and everything. You need to be able to have fun and balance that kind of thing. That's an important part of growing up. And so she gives him she gives him this deck, and he immediately tryhards. He immediately decides, I want to win. And so he manages to beat like all of the people in his local area. And because of this, he sees himself at this crossroads, because whilst he's still doing pretty well at school, his parents are really annoyed at the fact that he's focusing so much on this hobby as well. And he's really annoyed that he's too good. And maybe that sounds like a fake flaw, but in a card game, it's a very real thing that exists. See, if you just keep demolishing everyone, especially like your locals or just your local like area, not even like even not in a if it's not in a card shop, but like at a school or something, if you're too good, people will give up. They won't have, like, it's not fun to get steamrolled in a card game, especially, like, you've seen this situation before, right? With, like, the teenagers who have, like, their very first budget deck, or having fun fighting each other, and then there is that one tryhard with their full SP deck that's, like, a net copy from someone who won a tournament or something. You know, that guy, he's not fun to play against, but that's Tohya, and that's how Tohya enjoys the game. And because he finds himself at this crossroads where he loves playing Vanguard, but people hate playing against him, and his parents hate that he's playing it, it just, oh my god, it's so good. And Yuyu, again, is looking at it from this naive point of view where he doesn't really understand all of this. He's like, no, Vanguard's fun, so there shouldn't be a problem here. I don't get it. And of course, Tohya's grandmother passes away, you know, the one person who supported him. And we get this fucking beautiful just card fight. Do I even need, like, this is the coolest shot we've ever had in a Vanguard anime, where, like, they go to, like tackle each other and they like hit and then they kind of go past each other. It's just such a good shot. I would show it in motion, but I don't want to get copyright taken down. And then there's this just moment where Tohya shows his mother this trophy that he won at like a locals tournament or something along those lines. And she just ignores him and tells him to go and study more. And that moment's the one I feel like that the episode's really kind of been building towards, because yeah, that moment of him accomplishing something that he really had fun doing, you know, playing Vanguard, getting better at it, winning at tournaments, and then showing it to someone you care about, someone who usually, you know, encourages him and stuff in studies, but then that person just not giving a shit and ignoring you. Yeah, it hits hard. It hits really hard. It's just a stupid game, they say. All you're doing is just playing with cards. Why are they so expensive? You're wasting so much money on those cards. Why are you spending so much time playing it? Surely there's more important things you can worry about. But as Tohya says, it's not just a game. There's more to it than that. It's his life now. It's something that's kind of fully enveloped him. It's a part of him. When his mother rejects the trophy and ignores it, she's also ignoring, well, Tohya himself. And so he finds himself in a situation where he just wants to quit. He wants to beat the best person he knows, and that person is Danji, so that he can go out on top and say that he won, so that he can quit and just forget about it. But he, deep down, knows it's not that simple. He can't just give up that easily. Like, he keeps telling himself that this win will give him closure. But let's be real, it's not coming. That closure is not coming whether he wins or loses against Danji. And, oh my god, this character is so interesting and nuanced and, like, intricate. And people were worried when overdress started that it wasn't a real card game anime, you know, because they weren't showing enough of the card fights and all that other stuff. And we had the silly comedy episode with the wrestling and everything. But this episode proves that not only is overdress a good card game anime, it might be the best card game anime. Not because of the amount of screen time they give the fights themselves. That doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that it's using the card game to tell a story that couldn't have been told without that card game. This isn't just a group of teenagers fight monsters to save the world. No, this is something different. This is something unique. This is something that feels surprisingly mature and nuanced and emotional and complex, and just everything about it works. At least to me. Obviously, there's gonna be people in the comments who are like, I don't understand all that. I just thought it was a mediocre episode. And if that's you, that's fine. I don't mind. But to me, this episode is exactly what Vanguard should have been. It's growing up with its audience. It's finding a new, older audience. This isn't just a kid's anime. And I don't say that in a mocking way. I think that back when Vanguard was a kid's anime, you know, back with G and everything, I love those series. I think they're great. But I think to separate itself, to find its new identity, to grow and evolve with the times, not like finding this kind of new audience of aiming a card game anime at an older audience, you know, more adult oriented, especially the people who grew up with Vanguard. That is such a genius move, and I'm shocked no one's tried it sooner. I guess Rick Ross might have tried it sooner, I don't know. But this is exactly what Vanguard needed, not only to survive, but to thrive. I think this is going to attract so many people, this mentality at the very least, if not this specific episode, this mentality of treating it seriously. That's the best part too. They never make light of it. They never make any stupid self-aware jokes of like, well, it really is just a card game, you know. Like, no. Whenever Tohya is on screen and he's expressing his struggles and his past and everything, they never joke about it. There are some lighthearted jokes at the beginning of the episode, but they're mainly comedic jokes where like visual gags with Iseki and everything. They're not making fun of it. And that's the thing I love about overdress, is it's a silly comedy anime. You've got Danji driving a tank, you've got Zakuza getting Danji to go in a wrestling match. Like, that stuff's all really funny and I really like it, but it knows when to take it back. And that's what I also really like about the more quote-unquote fillery episodes beforehand, because it gives you such a good variety. See, if this anime was like this from episode 1, then it would become mundane. You know, you'd get bored of it and you'd see it coming. It'd get predictable. By having the wrestling episode immediately before this one, it just comes out of nowhere. You just gut punched. And that is good. That is exactly what this series needs, you know? Like, that's what makes it work so well. The fact that the series has been so unpredictable and all over the place, to me, is one of its strongest elements. And just, I haven't even, like, talked about the car fight. I thought the car fight was great. Obviously, there's going to be people in the comments going, actually, they skipped all this stuff and breezed through it too quickly. And hey, again, if that's what you think, then that's what you think. I still really liked it. I thought the Sakura action scene was phenomenal. Everything about it was so good, and it kind of made me, as you can probably tell if you've been, you know, listening to this, it kind of made me a little emotional, I'm not gonna lie. This was good. This was, like, not only good, but it's the best. This is what we have to look forward to in the future of Vanguard, not just in overdress, but beyond, you know, like, just forever. This is what Vanguard is now. This is the kind of approach and direction it's going to be taking. Then good. I don't even really know what else to say. I guess I can just stop the recording now, huh? Because it's been 19 minutes, but I still don't even think I've fully expressed what it is that makes this episode so good. I definitely need to rewatch it a few more times, and that's the thing. Immediately, the moment it ended, not only was I asking really desperately for more, but I wanted to rewatch what I had already seen. I know there's going to be tons of little moments of foreshadowing, or just really cool stuff that I missed out on or didn't fully appreciate. That's the cool thing with overdress, is the other series is, because they're so long, you just kind of binge watch and breeze through it and just, you know, you kind of watch those episodes and then you kind of forget about them. But with overdress, because there's so few episodes in a season, and because they're all so highly concentrated, you want to go back, at least I do, I want to go back and analyze every single scene, because everything feels important, even the lighthearted fillery stuff. Even that stuff feels like foreshadowing. And this episode proves that. Feel free to disagree in the comments, I don't mind. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that other stuff to see more videos from me. Remember, for every statement, there's always an asterisk, and I'll see you later.